Hey there, it's Andrea, and welcome to the Voice of Influence podcast. Today I have with me Colin McIntosh, founder and CEO of Sheets and Giggles, a sustainable bedding brand using eucalyptus for sheets, mattresses, and pillows. And we're going to have a lot of fun things to talk about today with Colin. Colin, welcome to the Voice of Influence podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I feel like I look all sweaty. I'm in South Florida for the holidays. I live in Denver. I
Well, then you're
forgot how
just
hot it
going to be
for
sweaty.
hard. Oh my God, it's crazy out there right now. So yeah,
Yeah,
thanks for
when you're
having us.
used to the Denver
Right,
air, it's a lot
right.
different.
Yes, right. This time of year, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, well, so would you start by just giving us a sense of like who is Sheets and Giggles? Like you guys have been you got featured on Good Morning America. You are selling like crazy. I'm just really happy for you. Can you tell us a little bit more about the brand?
Who is Sheets and Giggles is an interesting question. Usually I get like, what is Sheets and Giggles? I'm Sheets and Giggles, like in a broad sense. Like I'm the sheets guy when I go to events, or like people just call me Sheets and Giggles at events that we sponsor for fun. And at its core, like a brand is the founder, right? So definitely those two go hand in hand. And then in terms of like the business itself, we make sustainable home textiles. So sheets, comforters, duvet covers, mattresses, pillows. We're getting into some light apparel, some pajamas in the new year.
Oh,
And yeah, and we've experimented with towels, but we haven't yet gotten there and that sort of thing. But we launched in 2018, so it's been 4 years since we shipped our first box. And we now have hundreds of thousands of customers, which is really exciting. I mean, not something that I ever anticipated when I started the company. I wanted to sell a few sheets, make people laugh, and make the world a better place, and make enough money to eat pasta and pay my rent. So it's very fun to tiger by the tail and let it see where it drags you.
oh yeah. Okay, so what what got you into this particular product? Why eucalyptus? Why, like what how'd you get there?
It's a long story, and there's two parts to it. One's really dumb. One's a little bit more clever. The dumb part is I was at another job, another consumer brand. Having some disagreements with the founder, so thinking of business ideas and that sort of thing that I could do on my own. And I was watching. I swear this is a true story. It's a really dumb story. I was watching War Dogs with Miles Teller and Jonah Hill, and it's like a 6 out of 10 on IMDb. It's not a great movie. It's okay. It's fine. It's a fine movie. And Miles Teller's character is selling sheets out of the back of his pickup truck. And he keeps getting turned down by all these business owners. And I got so frustrated with his character because he didn't do any go-to-market strategy. He didn't think about his pricing strategy, his demographics, his value propositions, his brand identity. And I turned to my ex-girlfriend. She's my ex because I'm a neurotic person like this. And I was like, pause the movie, and I literally wrote a business plan for a bed sheets company that night, and which is the dumbest way. It's the stupidest founder story ever. Like every other founder is like, I felt these cotton sheets, and I was like, there has to be a better way. And I think that's all nonsense. I think nobody actually starts a company that way. I think that's just marketing gimmick. But so that's how I had the idea, and then months later, I got laid off from that company I was at. Lo and behold, it wasn't a very well run business. And there were a lot of problems with that company. And so 3 weeks later, after I got laid off, I did a bunch of market research, and I became enamored with the idea that I had had a few months earlier about a funny first sustainable product in a very bland and boring space. It was sort of like a blank canvas for me to play around with from a brand identity perspective. And so I incorporated Sheets and Giggles in October 2017. And then a year later, we shipped our first box.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Can
And
I tell
and
you
there
why
there are good reasons why this business model makes sense, like, like massive
clearly
market.
it's working.
Yeah, massive market, highly fragmented, no brand differentiation, no good sustainable options, no strong brand identities, like no visual differentiation. There's all sorts of, compelling reasons why I started a business in the space. Um, and yeah, and then we did a crowdfunding campaign in May 2018. We raised $300,000 for pre-orders for bed sheets, which was like the proudest achievement of my life, to convince thousands of people to wait 6 months for bed sheets. Uh, I love those people. They're like my favorite people in the world, with a very personal relationship with my early backers. And then, yeah, we shipped our first box about 6 months after that. So
Hmm. So, can I tell you why I actually don't think that your story is that dumb?
sure, by all means, I'm open to compliments at all times.
Okay, so okay, like a lot of the things that I've done have had to do with people finding their mission, their purpose, their
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Yep.
And being really irritated about something that you see in the world is very often how people find what they really care about.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you being irritated at that movie,
Oh, but it's such a silly thing to be irritated at. It's so silly. But I
is it though? Because what you were irritated with was that he had something, but he couldn't get it sold.
it mirrored the frustration I was going through in my real life with the business that I was at that I felt like could have succeeded had some significant changes been made. I was on the founding team of that business. I ran their business, and a good friend of mine was the CEO, so that was emotionally difficult. Like
Yeah.
through walking that tightrope. And so yeah, I think you're right. It was like a metaphorical like expression of my frustration for sure.
Yes, it tapped into something much deeper for you, which
Yeah.
I think that makes complete sense. And when it does do it's here's the thing though, like,
You're the first
you wanna
person to
talk
ever
about
compliment me.
dumb.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
You wanna
Tell me.
talk about dumb, like, I wrote my first book because of the movie Frozen, and that's
No
a kid's
way.
movie.
Well, what
So,
was the
yes.
inspiration? Olaf or
No, Elsa.
Elsa?
'Cause I care about the Elsas of the world. We don't need to talk about me. I'm just telling you, like, the point is that I do think that there is something really deep there, like, it's not just dumb.
No, I know.
But
I
it's
always
funny.
love that. I have, I have founder friends and it is a funny first company and like, but at the same time, like we do have a serious like sustainability aspect,
Yep.
philanthropy aspect. That's all well and good and makes me, yeah, bed in the morning. But I have friends, start aerospace companies and, like, sexual assault prevention companies and wonderful founders who are working on huge problems. I always like to self-denigrate a little bit. But at the same time, like, when COVID was coming around, for example, in March 2020, all my friends who are tech founders were, rightfully scrambling to create artificial intelligence mapping tools to track the spread and apps to do this and communities. And what we were really good at is selling bed sheets. And so I was just like, okay, well, we're going to donate 20% of sales for a month to Colorado COVID-19 relief. And that ended up being like 40 or $50,000 at the time.
Mm.
That we donated. And I remember I got a phone call from the governor's office and they were like, yeah, we're going down the donation list line and we saw like, like Comcast, $50,000, like Denver Broncos, $50,000. Sheets and Giggles, like $40,000. Like, did you mean to do this? And so that was really fun. Like to me, where it was like, yeah, like, we just sell bed sheets on the internet, but it's a tool, it's a vehicle. So that's really great.
Oh, yeah. And, like, okay, so tell me more about the, sustainability side of your business. Like, why I mean, there's something important there too.
There is. I think when I started the company, it was never even a question, right? Like, I'm not gonna start a company within the time in 2017 as a 27-year-old. I was like, why would I start a business that makes, a product that's going to make the world worse? And polyester or, something to contribute to the insecticide problem like cotton does. Cotton uses up to a quarter of the world's insecticides by itself, in any given year. And it is like they use the neonicotinoids, which are killing bird and bee populations. And so, like, I think for me, it was almost like an obvious thing of it's a given. And then from there, it became okay, what is the best possible sustainable product in this area and how can we make it a luxury good as well? Because I firmly believe that people won't buy something just because it's sustainable. I think that it has to be superior
Yeah.
and also priced competitively, which is very difficult to do all three of those things. I think generally you can do two of them. It's very
Mhm.
hard to do
It's
all
true.
three. Yeah. So, yeah, for me, I think, and look, I'm 32. Um, Probably gonna have kids in the next few years. Just got engaged this year. Um,
Congratulations.
Thank you. I got a long time to live on this planet, and so so do my future kids, hopefully. And there's, I don't want to get into the climate change thing, but it is very concerning that you know 9 out of the last 10 years have been the hottest on record. And it's yeah, so that's something for me too. Is just wanting a habitable planet, basic table stake
Sure.
stuff. Yeah.
Okay, I want to touch on the fact that you're like the face of this brand, the sheets and giggles, the fun lightheartedness of what you bring to the table. In what ways have you been able to be that person for sheets and giggles? We know that you were on GMA.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
what else? Like, what other kinds of
Uh,
ways do you show up as that person for your brand?
Well, I wasn't just on Good Morning America. I did a belly flop into bed on Good Morning America. So that was my idea. I was like, they were like, yeah, just like sit on the bed and like we'll get some like panning shots of you and your dog. And I was like, I think it would be more on brand if the opening shot was like me jumping into bed. And they were like, okay. I blew out all the slats on that bed frame. Right. Uh, but yeah, I think what I hear a lot is that people feel a sense of authenticity from the brand. And I think that that bleeds through in terms of like how I communicate with people and how I communicate with my team and how my team communicates to the world is, I will have conversations with my team where I'll say very overtly to them when they start, look, at other jobs, you have to wear a hat every day. You have to wear a mask and you have to pretend that you're someone that you're not. And you have to talk to your boss and your manager in a different way than you talk to your spouse, than you talk to your friends, than you talk to your baseball buddies, like whatever it is. Don't do that with me. Like, please talk to me the same way that you would approach and talk to anyone else. And that communication inside the company where we all talk to each other I'm calling with people. I'm not the CEO. I'm not the manager. I'm not the boss. Jake is Jake. Frank is Frank. Alex is Alex. Um, that type of communication bleeds through into our social media presence. I run our Twitter personally, which is very, very fun for me. Um, we sponsor podcasts that we are all authentically fans of, so we can engage with that podcast community on a very like one-to-one level where we know the inside jokes, we know the bits, we know how to speak to them. Same thing with YouTubers. We sponsor YouTubers that we're genuinely fans of. And that stuff scales pretty well, like where it's like, okay, what do we like? And let's go find more people that like what we like. And that has been, I think, a really powerful way of doing business. And it all stems from yeah, I mean, I don't want to say from me, but from the best parts of me. Like that's what I wanted to put into to cook into the brand was all the things that I loved about myself and remove the things that I disliked about myself.
Let's also talk about you're interested in some policy and things like this in politics. Can you tell me a little bit about how you've gotten involved?
Yeah, I mean, I got involved in politics in a number of ways. I love sponsoring people that I think are having important jobs and important conversations. I like sponsoring journalists. I like sponsoring radio personalities, YouTube personalities. I like being, um, and again, I'm happy to have a political conversation, but I'm a very far left person, but I think maybe a different way than a lot of people might be familiar with if they listen to mass media. Like I don't really get involved in um, the culture war issues. They don't really interest me it's probably because of I'm a young white guy and don't have like a ton of personal table stakes in that. Although I do care a lot about my friends and I try to be a good ally. But for me, I'm much more interested in how can we pass some basic level of public health care so that way people are more comfortable leaving their jobs at Microsoft, Amazon, Boeing, and going out and starting their own businesses without worrying about the healthcare and doctor access of their 2-year-old at home. Like those are things that I think are really detrimental to American entrepreneurship is that, people may have a natural career progression where it's time for them to leave the large corporation and go out on their own, but they can't because they have 3 dependents at home. And not just about the salary, because people can save a ton, but about the medical access. And I think that's a very uniquely American problem that is an artificial limiter to our how entrepreneurial we can be as a society. So like those are the type of things that I really care about. Same, I can talk about similar arguments in terms of why raising the minimum wage is actually better for a lot of small businesses, though it should be tiered. I can talk about college tuition and how it actually is a very big boon for American small businesses in terms of increasing the skilled labor pool. There's all these different things that I think about from a progressive standpoint that like I would love to hear more small business owners advocate for them. But the argument is almost like non-existent in the political discourse. In fact, most people very quickly assume my political views just from the fact that I'm the owner of a decently mid-sized C corp. And yeah, so I like to get involved. I love talking to my House Speaker, Alec Garnett. I love talking to my state reps, my state senators. I love contributing to the community, sponsoring Colorado Public Radio. And I sponsored political events like with women in sustainability, with big groups in Denver, and love to put our brand name on those sponsorships just so we can support the activity within the community. And it all comes back to us tenfold. And but I love lending my voice to that sort of thing. And in the last 3 years, just philanthropically, the company's donated over $100,000 to charity. Just this last weekend for Black Friday, we donated over $20,000 to charity. And it's something that is meaningful to me. I hate it when companies are like, we're donating 1% of our profits to charity. I'm like, good on you guys. But for me, it's always like 20% of sales or 10% of sales or something.
So, um, I'd like to ask you some questions that I've been asking some other CEOs, if you don't mind.
Huh?
Um, what has been one of the biggest factors you think in your company's success?
Authenticity is always be my answer. Like, there are so many annoying TikTok brands that, have this like really like glossy, like weird vibe to them that I think people like deep down like kind of hate. But like also the algorithm, like I call them like algorithmic brands, like I never want to be something like that. And I think that in 2022, people have a tremendous like bullshit meter. And so I really like the fact that SNG never comes off as inauthentic. I do one-on-one Twitter interactions with people as the CEO. I jump into my customer care email inbox at midnight and I will email 5 or 10 people back at midnight just from the CEO, be like, hey, this looked important to me. I'm flagging right now to my team. That way we can take care of it in the morning. I write when we're late on a shipment, like a pre-order or something where we just shipped our pillows 10 days late. I email people personally and I say, hey, I'm sorry about this. Here's what happened. And here's a discount for a future order as a proactive apology. And here's your tracking information. And if they reply, I answer. So I think that one-to-one authenticity is really key and people feel it.
Hmm. Do you notice a lot of return customers then?
Tons. Yeah. Huge. More than half of our customers come back and buy a second time,
Mm.
which is, for our category is really, really high. Like, because, you can only buy so many bed sheets.
Yep.
So
Yep.
one of the reasons we came up with a mattress, this year which is really hard to do. Took us like 2 years. Is because we get that question all the time, like thousands and thousands of times even asked, what is the best mattress for sustainability, for my herniated disc, for my overheating at night. And so I have a herniated C4, C5. I used to be a very hot sleeper. I'm very care about sustainability. And so for me to be able to create a mattress that hits those three things for people with chronic pain, for hot sleepers, and for sustainability minded people was really powerful. So
Mm.
like, that's why we do that is because they ask us and we try to deliver.
And listen to those customers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's one question that you like to ask when you're hiring?
Oh, I like to ask a lot of fun questions. I like to ask what 3 word sentence would you put on your tombstone? Um, it's a good one. What about you? What 3 word sentence would you put on your tombstone?
Oh gosh, you can't make me do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I like asking it. It's fun to see what people come up with quickly.
Are you really asking me?
So can you think of anything on it? 3 word sentence. And I like sentence because like it's not just 3 words with commas. It's like you know, a quick little sentence.
If I could add a word,
Okay.
until love runs out.
Oh, I love that.
I
I
love
love
I love the song Love Runs Out by One Republic.
I like that. That's really
Yeah.
nice.
Okay, go on.
Um, I know for me, I was always thinking about like, He Did It, which is kind of interesting, or, Look Behind You. I thought that was funny, like, to have, like, a joke on your
Look
tombstone.
behind.
Like, somebody, like, has to, like, you read this, you, like, were walking in a graveyard and, like, a tombstone was just, like, "Look behind you," like, you would freak out. So, yeah, I always let people always come up with something fun and interesting. Um, I also like to ask, what's the worst boss they've ever had? Tell me about them. Like, get cathartic, spill it. Um, Understanding people's trauma, which, like, bad bosses can be very traumatic because you
Yeah,
spend every day with them.
absolutely.
Um, that is something that I think really helps me understand someone and how to talk to them when we do hire them, and also what's important to them and what will be important to them on a daily basis. So those are a couple questions I would ask.
Okay. What's your number one challenge as a CEO looking into 2023?
Well, it's just kind of a nightmare scenario right now out there, right? You've got low capital availability, both in debt and equity because they intertwine. You have uh, massive increases in cost of production, in freight. Um, some things normalize and they spike back up, and there's a lot of uncertainty and longer time horizons in terms of you know, uh, freight, shipping, fulfillment, production. Um, and so, you've got a lot of different challenges that are coming that are like staring you right in the face. Some are in the rearview mirror, they've been fighting through in 2022. And then some are staring us right in the face. So for me, I think what I'm most worried about is just like the macro picture, um, which is not, I think, a unique answer. I'm sure a lot of people will tell you that. And I think that I'm just worried about like how bad will things get. Like I hope not very. Um, but it's definitely something to where we have 2 to 3 years right now of lagging indicators really catching up with us, and about a 10-year hangover of easy capital catching up with us. So it's interesting to watch the problems cascade, but also at the same time, a lot of real pain comes from that. And so I think that's what I'm most worried about. So we're trying to actually come out with a much lower priced sheet set option in the new year to help with people who maybe would have splurged $150 on luxury sheets last year, but who just can't realistically put it into the budget this year, or the coming year. And so, we're trying to come out with a sub $90, sub $80 product, which is really, hard to do sustainably and with the quality demands that we have. So
Mm. Okay, so on the flip side of that, then what opportunities are you seeing? So maybe different price product. What else would you see as opportunities for your company in the next year or so?
I'm laser focused on the mattress, like laser focused. Sheets are great. They are our flagship product. They're in our name, Sheets and Giggles, right? Like we will always be a sheet company first and foremost, and it's what we're known for, and it's what we've put our flag in the ground with. And we have 6,000 reviews, 4.8 stars. Like we don't hide our 1-star reviews like every other online company in the world. We have 54 of them. You go read them. I know every single one. Every single one. And so I'm very proud of the sheets, the comforters, the flagship products. But mattresses in its second month outsold comforters, duvet covers, and pillowcases combined. And it's just the power of having $1,000 product. We worked really hard to get that price point down as low as possible. A comparatively sustainable mattress is going to cost you over $2,000, maybe like 1,800 for a queen or 1,900 for a queen. Our queen is 1,500. And we right now we're selling it at holiday at like 11.99. And we have sold it at below 1,000 during the pre-order. And that, I mean, we barely made any margin on those, but like But that type of price point is like really aggressive for sustainability, and people are definitely responding well to it. We have 23 reviews so far, 22 5-star, one 4-star. The 4-star review said that the edge support wasn't quite enough for them, which is fair. It's fair complaint. You can't do a great edge support without foam plastic. So it's a little bit of a trade-off. Um, but man, I am so gung ho on doing what we've done with Sheets, which is like having this incredibly blank canvas to work with with mattresses, because I think it's a very similar vibe. Every mattress company has the same exact marketing materials, the same exact copy, the same exact value proposition, the similar price points, like similar aesthetics. Like, you can, if I ask you to picture a mattress advertisement in your head right now, you're probably seeing like a bare mattress with a really nice bed frame behind it, with a white wall that has maybe a blanket draped over one of the corners of the mattress, that has a nightstand with a candle on it. Like I can you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it is the most derivative, like easiest content in the world. And so for me, that's what excites me is being able to actually go out and bust up that space a little bit too.
So finding another product that can build off of and learn from the success of your other product.
Yeah, exactly.
If we were to like turn it into advice.
Right. If you turn it into advice, it's like
Yeah.
people trust your brand, they love your brand, they like you, they want you to succeed. And if you give them complementary items to your core product, they will respond in kind. And I think that's a powerful lesson for us. So we're coming out with we entered the year with sheets, comforters, duvet covers as like our main three products, and we're ending the year with mattresses, mattress protectors, pillows. We've sold over 1,000 pillows in like a month, with no marketing or anything, just from our email list, no reviews, nothing, just people jumping on them. We sold out. We only had 1,000 of those, so that was really exciting. And then in the new year, we're doing pajamas. We're actually one of our VP of marketing, our VP of performance marketing. He roasts his own coffee. He has his own coffee company. And it's the best coffee. It's like phenomenal, and it's sustainable, and it's locally sourced. And I was like, and he's in Dallas, Texas. And I was like, Brett, why are we not selling your coffee? Like, cause he sells it
It's related.
he sells it one bag at a time to people on his own website. And we have this huge reach. And I was like, Brett, you will be our manufacturer. Like, and so we're doing that, which I'm so excited about. We're launching that like this week.
Oh, that's cool.
Um, yeah. So stuff like that is I wish we would have done that a long time ago, but you've got to build a base,
Yeah.
for sure. You got to earn it. And that's the hard part.
Yeah. Gotta earn it. That's good. Okay. You've had some really good growth. What insights or advice do you have for other CEOs who are working to double their revenue?
Well, doubling in this environment, 2022, 2023 will be very hard. So if anyone can do that, I give you mad props. We doubled or quadrupled every year for our first 3 years of business. And this is the first year we won't be doubling or more. So it's definitely a hard environment. Um, but I would say if you're looking to grow that aggressively, you have to think about how and why and with what capital and what resources you're going to do that. So I think a lot of people get to a crossroads where they are like, yeah, I'm growing really quickly, but also I'm losing money every month. And how do you reconcile those two? Do you pull back the growth levers and really focus on your unit economics? Or do you go raise capital and throw more gas on the fire and wind up working for other people with their own growth and investment and return demands? We've done the latter. We've raised capital. We've continued to invest capital into the business. Very small amount of capital. Like, we don't raise much money. Um, and but at the same time, like, a little bit of capital can go a long way. So I don't know. I would identify your best growth levers. I would really focus on retention earlier than later. I think we focused on it too late. If I'm being honest, we didn't really invest in retention marketing until like early 2020. maybe like mid 2020, um, which was way too late. Like that was like 2 years too late. I should have done it day one. We should have been really focused on retention marketing. Um, and yeah, focus on your most profitable channels. Don't give money to Facebook. Well, there's a bunch of things I'd say. It's like we spent $200,000 on Facebook ads in January 2021. In January 2022, we spent $0 on Facebook ads.
Mm.
And our total revenue, I think, was a negligible difference year over year, but a 75% reduction in marketing budget. So I would just say that like radically challenge your team and your assumptions on which channels are the best channels. And don't be afraid to do a 30-day experiment where you just nuke your spend on some platforms and see what happens. And then if nothing bad happens, then you get to reallocate that spend somewhere else.
Mm. Good. Okay.
Real quick, and sorry,
Oh yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
And use a price testing tool. I cannot get a referral from this because it's just an oral thing, unfortunately. But there's a price testing tool that I freaking love called Intelligems, like intelligence, but Intelligems.
Uh-huh.
And it is, oh my God, we have learned that we can raise prices on King by like $20 without any decline in conversion. Because people are more affluent, less price sensitive at that level when they have a king bed versus a queen. We've learned that we can lower the price of full and actually make more revenue per visitor because full bed havers are more price sensitive. So many things we've learned from this tool: shipping cost, discount strategy.
Wow.
It's like an ABCD price testing tool for Shopify store owners.
Very cool.
Phenomenal.
Thank you for sharing that. Organizational infrastructure to sustain high growth can be a challenge. So building that infrastructure. What obstacles have you faced in that process, and what do you think that your company has done particularly well?
I think we've particularly kept it lean. We do over $1 million of revenue per full-time person. So we keep it very, very lean. We surround ourselves with really good contractors and agencies that are supplemental to what we're doing. We make our pillows, for example, in Denver with a manufacturing company called Mile High Workshop that we have great control over, great quality control over. I go there all the time myself and walk around and hang out with the folks making our pillows. They use formerly incarcerated people actually as their workforce, pay them $17 an hour, which lowers our recidivism rates and lowers our homelessness rates in Denver. Brand new program, super awesome. But like that's just an example of like instead of building out our whole team infrastructure for building a new pillow, we find someone that can, if we bring them the components and the specs and everything like that, we can have contract manufacturing with a different business. And so that type of lean organizational structure has been really good for us, and has allowed us to keep overhead low. Um, and and then I think like from a culture perspective, what has really really worked well is the sort of like everyone is a CEO type of attitude. Um, I don't hire anyone who like wouldn't be comfortable not hearing from me for 2 weeks. And we have one meeting every day for 5 minutes at 10 a.m. No meetings at Sheets and Giggles are allowed before 10 a.m. And it's very on brand. And we're very, very, very efficient structure, like EOS operating system, that sort of thing. Um, yeah, I think that those are the two things. It's like treat people the way you want to be treated, and then keep things as lean as possible. Feel pain before you hire someone.
Oh,
I always like to try to do the job myself for as long as I can before hiring someone else and see where I break. And then wherever I break, that's the responsibility that I know I have to really clue in on with the hiring.
okay. Um, all right. So I've got one more question for you, but before I do that, where can people find Sheets and Giggles and you,
Super
Twitter and
easy,
whatnot?
super easy. You can Google Sheets and Giggles, or you can go to sheetsgiggles.com. No and in the URL. And then we're at Sheets Giggles everywhere. Super fun on social. We like to have a good time. Definitely the weirdest bedding brand you will ever see on social media. And then on LinkedIn, Colin McIntosh, Sheets and Giggles, they're very easy to connect with me.
All right. Thank you so much. My last question for you is this is the Voice of Influence podcast. People who want to have an impact, make a difference with who they are, their message, their expertise, their products, whatever. Um, what last piece of advice would you want to give somebody who wants to have a voice of influence?
I would say that don't forget that and I've seen this recently, the tiniest action can have like a huge impact on somebody's life.
Mm.
And I think that millennials especially get caught up in the idea that like we have to be special or different or like I always have this joke where like millennials turn 26 and then they were like, "Oh my god, I sell insurance." Like and they were just and then, we were the generation, weird little vibe. Like we were the generation that was told like anyone can be president. Like I know a lot of generations were told that, but like it was very like, go to college and like your life will flourish and like do all these things. And the reality can sometimes be very different. And and so I always like to say like it's just my weird little betting company on the internet. Like it's just sheets and giggles. It's just selling bed sheets. I try really not to overblow it. But the smallest thing that you do can make a massive impact. So, like for example, there's three examples. One is we had somebody message us last year, not even message us. He posted. He was like a fan of ours. He was like a super fan of ours on Instagram and on Twitter. And he posted a really sad status that he got fired from his teaching job and he was devastated. And I just DM'd him and I was like, "Hey man, like it's a small thing, but happy to send you a free set of sheets, help you sleep a little easier." And he and I met last weekend in Miami at a big podcast event that we sponsored called Lost Miami. And he gave me a big hug and he was like, we've been talking for the last year. He was like, "You don't even know how depressed I was, what I was thinking about, like the things that I was considering." And he was like, and just that small kindness, like dragged me out of like this hole. And that's like a really weird thing for somebody to tell you, but it was so wonderful, like for it to hear that. Somebody else, same thing. They DM'd us and they were like, "Hey, we just fostered a new child. Like we're adopting this kid. We want to make them feel really welcome in our home. We'd love to get your sheets. We're big fans of the company, but they're a little out of our price range. Can you give us a discount?" And I saw that message and I just jumped on it before my team could. And I was like, "Take it for free." And I like sent him a code, like a free set of sheets. And the same thing, same event. This guy came up to me and he was like, "Dude, you have no," and he actually, I didn't know this. He has a very viral Twitter and he's posted about us a lot on
Oh,
Twitter that gotten like a ton of free impressions and sales for us. So like that's like that goes back to you. And then the third thing is this is actually my favorite one. This event last weekend was really powerful for me because we were sponsoring this big event that has super fans for this podcast. And this person impersonated us on Twitter, DM'd a bunch of people that were going to the event. "You want a free VIP ticket from Sheets and Giggles? Click this link, give us your credit card information." And a bunch of people like reported it and and one guy unfortunately got, and he landed in Miami from Portland for the event. He clicked the link, he gave his credit card information over. Very frustrating. He got scammed 5 minutes into landing in Miami, which is kind of funny. And he DM'd us about, he was like, "Hey, like, I just want to let you know, like, this person impersonating you, I got scammed." Took me about 10 seconds before I was like, "Then why don't we take you to the event as a VIP guest for real?" And
mm,
like, he was like, "Are you serious?" I was like, "Yeah." So he came with me. His name was also Colin, which was really funny. I didn't know that at the time. And we had a great time at the event. And that was that small little action. Like now we have another super brand ambassador, you know what I mean? But yeah, so anyway, that's my advice. Long-winded answer. Small things, small little things can make a huge impact on people's lives and ripple effects.
ah, great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Colin, for being a voice of influence for our listeners. And yeah, good luck in 2023.
Thanks. This is a super fun interview, and I'm sorry, I know I'm so long-winded, but this is really fun interview.
No, I love it.
Yeah,
That's what I love about this. There's so much that you have experienced and that you have to share. And how often do you get a chance to do that? Right.
not often, not often. No, this is great. I really appreciate you having me, and I hope that it was useful for some folks out there.
Oh, it will be for sure. Okay. We'll see you soon.